Hello, welcome to the assignment Knock Down 2 Towers. We are going to be working today with the dynamic castle crasher playground. So let's get started by creating a new blocks project in the dynamic castle crasher playground. Note there are two really similar playgrounds, Castle Crasher and Dynamic Castle Crasher. We want the dynamic version. So let's open our playground so we can see what it's all about. This may look familiar as our class worked on the Castle Crasher playground in the fall, where we programmed our robot to make some specific turns and drive a specific distance in a very set sequence in order to knock down as many blocks as we could. Today, we're working in a more dynamic environment, thus the name Dynamic Castle Crasher. And as you'll see, when you refresh the playground, these blocks are going to be in different arrangements. There are many different arrangements that the Dynamic Castle Crasher offers, and the fact is we can't simply tell our robot a set sequence such as go forward 200 millimeters, turn right 90 degrees, etc., because sometimes you have a block in front of you when you start, sometimes you don't. You need to be more ready to really read the environment and respond to what the environment is giving you. And anytime a robot is going to read its environment, it is using a sensor, isn't it? So let's take a look at what sensors are available. It looks like we could look for an object or find an object with the front distance. And we can see if we're near an object with the front eye. The difference between these two is that the front distance will read the environment from any distance really, quite far away or close up. The front eye specifically looks for objects very close to the robot. So in our case, sometimes our blocks are not going to be very close to us. For example, in this case, the block is all the way across the playground. So this block is not quite as useful to us as the front distance. Let's only focus on the front distance sensor. So how can we use this to plan the robot's strategy, to plan its path? How about if we take out a conditional? I'm going to just park this down here for now. Let's take out a conditional block. That will tell us if a certain condition is true, then we're going to take a certain action. So for example, if we say, well, if the robot finds an object in front of it, then I want my robot to drive toward that object and push it off the playground. So I could certainly tell my robot to do that. That is one way of using sensors to read our environment. But if you think about it, sometimes we are going to be facing a block, and sometimes there might be no block straight ahead of us at a given time. I'm pretty sure there's at least one, like here. There's no block in front of us when we first start. So what would we do? Well, if you imagine yourself in this scenario, maybe not a robot, you would probably, turn your head this way and that way, move your eyes until you find a block tower. So in my case, or in our case, let's have our robot not use this if-then block, but something similar. Under logic, we also have something called the if-then-else block. So this lets our robot go ahead and drive into a tower when we see it. But if we don't see a tower, that's what this else is. This else is sort of the otherwise thought. If we do not see an object in front of us, what do we want to do? Well, we said if it was a person, that person would probably scan with their eyes left to right, turn their head left and right. We need to turn. So let's go ahead over to the drivetrain. Let's take a turning block and say, okay, so this is what we know we want our robot to do. If we find an object, we go forward, otherwise we turn. So if I do that, I found an object, but now even when there was no object there, I kept going forward, didn't I? So what we're doing here is we're only executing this if statement one time. That's how an if, then, else, or what's called a conditional statement works. It helps your robot make a choice one time. So we're going to say, well, I don't think I only want to do this once. I want to repeatedly look for objects. I want to continually scan around and see if I have an object in front of me, then I'll drive forward. And then if somehow that object isn't there anymore, I need to change my behavior. I need to start turning and find an object to push. So what happens if we do that? This is the part where we're hoping to knock down 2 towers. So far we're starting to knock into things. So we kind of ran into this in class also, if you were in class for this lesson, and we decided maybe turning 90 degrees to scan is too much. If you think about it, if it were you on this playground, would you do a full 90-degree turn to look for blocks? No, you'd probably just turn a little bit. So some people in class tried a 45-degree turn, some people tried I think a 20-degree turn. You can kind of play with that number and see what works for you. I'll try a 20 right now. So here we are, we're pushing some blocks. We've got some of them definitely getting closer to the edge. And oh my, we knocked into a lot of blocks. We cleared a couple of blocks, and now we have fallen off the playground. So this kind of takes us to the end of the problem of knocking down 2 towers. We have used a conditional statement, repeating forever, in order to do that. We're going to wrap up this lesson and go into the next lesson where we manage to keep our robot from falling off the playground. Stay tuned. Make sure to watch the video in the next lesson if you would like to continue with this whole sequence. Good luck with the Dynamic Castle Crasher project.